Welcome to Let's Talk Dog Business. Today we are going to be delving into why did you start your business? Was it for the love of dogs or was it to escape the corporate grind? Join us on our conversation and see if anything resonates with you. Did you see the poll in our Facebook group the other day on why people got into dog training business or dog professional business?
Yes, I did. And I found it quite interesting actually with the results. What did you think?
I kind of expected it with those options. So read out the options. What was on there again? The one that definitely had the highest number of votes was they got into it for the love of dogs.
Yeah, so the question was, what led you to work with dogs or is the driving force for those planning to start? And the options were improve lives of dogs, improve lives of owners, love of dogs, preventative, find working with people difficult, an easy way to make money. Funny enough, nobody picked that one. Issues with my own dog meant I learned a lot and wanted to share with others, determined to do it better than others near me. And then somebody had added as an extra option, get out of the corporate grind, which I thought was quite a good one to add.
Yeah. No, I expected the answers for love of dogs to be quite high on that list because it's animal industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think
it's a passion puller.
Definitely a passion puller. And I think you kind of see this crossover within industry. But so I was looking at some scientific papers the other day as part of my uni degree, and some of them are actually quite interesting. So I think I'd sent one to you, and it was about public perception versus veterinary perception surrounding costs specifically on that paper. And the public's perception was that I think vets should put animal welfare and the love of animals ahead of any fees. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it definitely gets pulled in on any animal profession, whether you're a trainer, groomer. You know, if you've got a dog that needs a groom every 4 to 6 weeks, there's obviously going to be a cost associated with that. But then I have heard of instances where the kickback has almost gone to the groomer as if to say, well, you know that this dog needs a groom every week. How do you expect me to keep on top of that?
Yeah.
And it's almost like you don't want to end up in this arguing situation, do you, with the client and the professional? But it all comes from this love and empathy of the animal.
Yeah, that grooming one's quite an interesting one, isn't it? And you hear that quite a lot, that owners let their grooming lapse and then the dog needs completely shaving off or going very short and not what they expected, and the groomers are kind of like in that position of going, well, hang on a minute, if you'd have kept it up and done the in-betweeny bits of grooming, then we wouldn't need to do this. But then they get really annoyed with the groomers because they're like, well, that's not what I asked for, and I don't want my dog looking that short and like a pipe cleaner or whatever they look like. Cockapoos look like pipe cleaners when they're really short, don't they? So that kind of, I hear that a lot, and it's kind of the blame is put at the groomers door, and it's like, hang on a minute, like you have a dog that's curly, you have a dog that needs lots of coat maintenance, you consider that when you buy the dog, don't you? Like, as far as I can see. It's the reason I don't have dogs like that, because I wouldn't be able to keep up with the maintenance of it, and I don't want to either.
No, and it is, because it's one of those things where you can almost, there's no almost about it, you can understand it from both sides of the unintended argument. You can understand it from a person's point of view of love for that animal, for that dog, wanting to do best for them, wanting them to have the best life. But also the reality is that money is going to come up in every circle of life, whether you're a business owner or not. Money is part and parcel of everybody's life. It's always going to be a contentious issue because some people have it, some people don't. And it then goes into other questions of, well, why have you gone and got all of these things to then spend more money on? And these things, again, could be living things like your animals and ones that do need more looking after, whether that's from a training point of view, a grooming point of view, a genuine walking point of view, and basic welfare needs of feeding them. But on the flip side, from a business point of view, which is still linked in with that human side of it, there are operating costs, and those costs have to be covered. And in order for you to live a good life, and it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I see this a lot in the social media groups when money is brought to light about wanting to do everything that they possibly can, but at what there ultimately is a cost. And what I tend to see more of is it's a cost to the person who actually wants to do the best. Because you then start to deliver and over-deliver, and you offer free sessions, or you'll offer additional time, or you'll offer your own mental health. Like, there's a cost in some way, shape or form when you put that needs and the welfare first. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be thinking welfare, but you should also be thinking as a business and going, I have to cover my living. So how are you going to pay your bills if you're passing on free work because you feel bad?
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you are there to make a living, and just because your business is an animal-related business doesn't mean that the public should perceive it any differently to if it's not, and if it's a vehicle or if it's a electrics or plumbing or any other service like that. And as I know, people are probably going to be going, oh, that's not the same. It's not, we've just done an interview with Jo Rosie Haffenden, and we were talking about the sentient being, like, people view it differently because it's a dog. And there's always, I think it comes down to that balance thing, doesn't it? Like, there's always a balance with these things.
Yep.
So we don't need to just forget they're sentient beings at the end of the day, and we don't want to not feel that passion about them. But at the same time, we do need to remember that we are a business, and we are there to make money and make a good living and all those kind of things as well.
And if anything, I think there's a lot of, as with anything, but again, with money, you're going to get lovers and haters out there, as you are with everything. And I'm definitely in the love camp of money. I like having it. It makes my life loads better. It means I can give my kids a really good life. It means I can actually look after my dogs a hell of a lot more, and I can do more things. And that's why we've partnered up with charities, because we want to do good things with the money that we earn. And I think we have to start looking at what we can do when we are in a position to give back. But ultimately, you still have to selfishly put you and your family first, as well as your clients, because you can do it all. You can have a successful business and deliver an amazing service to people, because, well, without it, like, what's the point in anything? Like,
yeah. And also, money isn't just money for money's sake. Money is freedom.
yeah,
So if you've got money, you've got the freedom to design that life how you want it to be. You can spend more time with your family. You can spend more time with your dogs. You can really focus on the things that really matter to you. When you haven't got any money, you're just scrabbling about trying to find it, and you are more likely to take on anything, aren't you? And that's the big battle with our kind of that outlook on this, is that we're trying to tell people you don't need to just do that. You can just look at what you want your life to look like, and plan it around that accordingly. And you will bring money in a different way to what you might have thought originally.
Yeah. Some of my hardest months have been when I've sat there and I've gone, oh my God, I need some money coming in. I haven't got any. And then you suddenly get an inquiry and you're like, yes, right, I need to get that. And you send an email out and it's like, this is the way you should work with me. I've been doing this for so many years. I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, whether it's experience, qualifications, whatever it may be. I've worked with those dogs. I love those dogs. Here's how you can work with me. You can have a 1 off, 2 off, 3 off, 4 off, 5 off. You choose, all down to you. Please, God, give me the money. And you really start to panic. And then lo and behold, you may attract that client to then come on and you go and deliver a session, and then immediately you're like, oh my God, what on earth?
What have I done?
Am I doing working with this? And you just hate, or I did. I was like, I hated doing sessions like that because it didn't align with anything.
But you know what? You don't know any different.
No.
If you don't know any different, you just do it because that's what everybody else does. And that, what you've just mentioned there, is really significant, because the more information in our heads as dog professionals, the more information and more skills we've got, and we tell people that we can do, and we can help you with this, we can help you with that, it justifies that bringing that client on board and delivering that service that we would like to deliver. It almost like justifies it, but in doing that, it confuses the hell out of them probably about what we do offer. Keep it simple is what we've learned.
If anything, the more and more I kind of go down this route, and since becoming a parent, if I was to look on like booking we were talking earlier about maybe looking at getting some Spanish lessons for the kids. Now, if I typed into good old Google, like Spanish teacher for kids or something, it's the equivalent of typing in dog trainer, and then all these things came up, and then their website was just full of, well, I've been doing this for so many years. I studied here, and here. I've got this A-level, that thing, this GCSE, but whatever it may be, all of the stuff. I'm like, do I really care on the grand scheme of things? I'm assuming you can deliver the thing that I'm looking for.
Can
because
you
you've
teach
got a website.
My children Spanish?
Yeah.
Is all you need to know.
Yeah, like if you can do it, awesome. And then the next thing for me is like, are we going to connect? Like, are we going to have a good relationship? Because ultimately, I care about my kids, shock horror. Same way as I would about my dogs. And if I'm going to bring any professional in, it's like I want to know I'm going to get on with them. So if that website is just full of, oh, you could do this and you could do that and you could do that. And even if it was like, I don't know, you could do an online session, and this has happened. You can do an online session, you can do a taster session, you can do a free session. So if you don't like it, you can walk away, no quibble. But then you can do all these paid things. You can do a group one. You can't do that until you're age 4. You can do that one at age 2. I'm like,
overwhelmed.
What?
Completely overwhelmed.
So then I end up messaging them going like, just what do I need to do?
Basically, the information you need is, where do I start?
Yep.
How do I start with you? Forget what I can do later on. That can be told to you. That information can be given to you later, can't it? Do they really need to know that now? It might be that you say, we've got this initial offering and there are other things that we can offer you later on, but you don't need to know the detail because you're not there yet.
Yeah.
You're here, you're at the beginning. You're not at that kind
literally just wanting to find out what's available and who feels right to bring on board.
Who aligns with you.
And if anything, that's exactly what we should be doing as dog professionals. It's like, I don't need to be filling the world with all of this stuff. And if you bring it back to that poll then, so the majority of people, certainly in our group, and I'd like to generalise that because I think it is, I'd put money on the table and say that's a good generalised view of how people get into working with dogs. It's for the love of dogs. And if that is genuinely the case, then you have to start thinking about what specifically then about dogs is it that you love, because how does that align with the service that you're offering?
Yeah.
Because if you're a walker, and again, I can first-hand experience put my 2 pennies worth in this, because my brain naturally goes to business stuff. I'm like, oh, I could offer walking because everybody needs a walker and I'm always going to have money coming in. So I dabbled with the idea of offering it, and we did do it for a short period of time. And when I say a short period of time, I think I did 3 to 6 months because I hated it. It was not for me, which is weird because I do enjoy walking.
But that's pleasurable with your own dogs.
Yeah.
When you're looking after other people's dogs, that might not be how you would look after them necessarily, or do, because you're not there's an argument to say you do train them as you walk them a bit.
Yeah, there's elements of bits that it's just, and I was like, do you know, it just doesn't feel right and I don't enjoy it. So I made...
And it's hard. It's hard in all weathers, isn't it?
Yeah,
dog
I was
walking.
like, you know what, I'm not interested in doing this all day, every day. And for me, I was like, I just couldn't do it. So I made that executive decision to go, no, I'm canning that because I love dogs, but I don't love that aspect of dogs.
You almost got, as awful as it sounds, you've got someone else's problems with their dogs that you have to manage for an hour.
Yeah.
and manage them as a group as well if you do group walks, and manage that dynamic between that dog that isn't necessarily how you would do things with that dog, but you're you're paid whatever 10, 12 quid an hour to manage that, bring it into the group of other dogs that are very different from that dog. They've all got different energy needs and exercise levels and all those kind of things, and you just go, well, you're just a dog walker, and it's like there's way more than that, but you're just being paid 10 quid to walk that dog. So like, again, you just go, there are so many skills that you need to be a dog walker, and this conversation isn't about belittling dog walkers, because I did it for 7, 8 years. It isn't that. It's just saying it's a really undervalued service.
It's massively undervalued. I would much rather pay. And ultimately, this is why, for me personally, so I've got huskies, I don't trust many people with those dogs. And that, arguably, that could be because of what I do being a trainer, and I know a lot of stuff about it, so I'm very, very particular on who I let in. But then some things I see, and I think it does come down to that somebody has gone into a business because they love dogs, but then if there's no understanding of them, and I think that's a key differentiator there. My fear would be, certainly with my dogs, is that they would be let off the lead because they're pretty good, but then there's no way a certain person would not be able to get them back. And that certain person, unfortunately, is the majority. Arguably, a lot of that is down to breed. But again, it's that whole, I just wouldn't necessarily trust it. And then if you tried to put them into a group situation, if you managed it well, they'd be fine.
But you've also got other dogs to manage as well as those dogs.
There's a lot going on.
So those dogs might have their own little foibles about their behaviour. And then you've got others. And then you go, well, if those dogs go somewhere, what am I going to do with these? Because I need to get those back. And they've all got to come with you and maybe overwhelm a dog that they've run over to or something. So that was always, that's why when I dog walked, I went nowhere anyone else was, because, and I'd only keep groups small. But see, the other temptation is, because you're not getting that much money for doing it, the groups get big.
They're bigger,
and then you get this out of control thing, don't you, with some dog walkers. Obviously some are good and they keep the groups small. And I think that what people should be owning in that, if you're keeping those groups small and you're giving that value of, I've only got a really small amount of dogs here, I've got, I hate the word control, but I can manage them all really well. Then you should be able to charge a premium for that service.
Yeah, absolutely. I would much rather pay a premium to go, I feel comfortable that you are coming into my home, so I need to trust you with keys in a lot of instances. I need to trust you with my dogs. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and I would much rather pay a premium knowing all of that is taken care of. And this is where we undervalue ourselves when we go into business, because we love something. Now, I'm all for loving something. And this is where it sounds a little bit contradictory, but you have to go into business loving something, because without that passion, you've got no chance of getting anywhere. But if you leave it at that surface level of, well, I just love dogs, and then you kind of fumble your way through, and arguably you can apply this to any industry, it doesn't need to just be dogs, but you have to really look at, again, the business side of it and start to go, right, okay, so if I love it, how can I make sure that I do love it and I get the end result of who I'm working with to love it as well? So even if you go back to that grooming example, pull together some packages that allow the client, the human, to see the value in going regularly. And
continuing working with that same person.
How can you do like an education package or a value proposition to go, this is what I need to enrol you on? If I was running a groomers, and I know we've spoke about this, but if we was to ever launch a grooming arm to our business, it's exactly what we'd be doing. I'd be like, you'd be on monthly memberships to keep you in, because it's going to tick over all the time.
Yeah, and if that package is set out with, this is how many sessions you're going to get in that package, or whatever you want to call them, people are going to keep up their appointments, aren't they? And they're going to feel like it's something that they not just should be doing, but something that they have paid for, and it's there, it's part of what they've gotten as that service, and it's that we want to keep coming, and we want you to be the person who looks after our dog, and we want to see the value in all of those things as well. So it kind of almost makes that commitment a bit higher, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think by valuing yourself, your skills, and your business, you start to attract different clients anyway.
Oh, well, look how different our businesses are now. To how the people that I get now are totally different from the people I got before. There are some clients that have had repeat clients, and they're the really nice, dedicated ones. But there are a lot of people that you just don't see the same kind of client.
No.
And it isn't the clients that have loads of money, or it's just your values and their values align, and they see that see a longer term program as a real benefit to either them, their dogs, everything. You know, the whole package is there, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it's really important as well to, something you mentioned in that was it can change. So you may have gone into this, like we've been in it over a good 10, 15, 20 years collectively. And that where we first started was very different to where we are now, because you do naturally grow and you do naturally start to love different things. And you realise that, so like even for me, I would say that my training business was very heavy on the practical side of it initially. And now we've moved away from it completely, because since I've become a parent and I was more time focused on the kids, I had to, or rather I wanted to change the business model to accommodate the busy lifestyle. And I thought, you know what, in order to do that, I'm going to just change, or rather my passion started going a bit off on a tangent in looking more at the knowledge side of it rather than the practical. So I just started going, okay, how can I attract clients and that want to understand more about why their dogs do these behaviours, and little things that they can implement that form part of a busy lifestyle, so you're not actively having to do anything. So it's not fixing a problem as such, it's working through a journey and a plan and almost like a little bit of a therapy session. So I leaned into the pain points that I think a lot of people in training industry have about being a therapist and all of that. I leaned into it because I found I quite enjoyed that bit. I quite enjoyed the psychology side of it, and I quite enjoyed pulling marriages and couples back together when they're sat on opposite ends of the sofa going like, fucking dog. I enjoyed it, so I lent into it and was like, ooh, okay, I'm doing it for the love of dogs, but I'm doing it in a way that actually better suits me now.
And you're making big changes by you being the person that instigates those conversations as well. So it's down to them to sort it out between themselves, but you're the one going, this is what needs to change. This is, you either need to change or the dog needs to change, or you come in and meet in the middle, and you're the person that's instigating that. And I think that is massively helping the dog, the owner, basically all those things in the poll you're doing, but you're just not doing it in the way that I don't think a lot of people would see would be the way that they would work, for example. But it's interesting.
It is interesting. And like I said, for me, I love it because I do love dogs, but then arguably you could still say I have got a bit of imposter syndrome when it comes to the practicality of training dogs, because I'm not as hands-on as I ever used to be. And even after we'd spoken to Jo Rosie, I was thinking, my God, if I ever had to train a dog in front of her, no chance would I. All those imposter feelings would come back in. But then I was like, well, actually, it's my choice to have gone down the education side of it. And I love it. I love my job. I love being able to talk to people, but I've lent into the things that interested me to best benefit the dog, instead of trying to force myself to do all of this practical stuff, which clearly after 10 years just doesn't seem to be my bag. But why should I not be able to call myself a dog trainer nonetheless when, okay, it's just a different angle of coming at it, and it's open and honest from marketing and public point of view. They know what they're buying from me.
And let's be honest, you're an amazing trainer, but your head and your focus is more on something slightly different than it is on that practical side. And what one person's skill set might be, or their passion might be more for, is not what the next person's is anyway. And, you know, coming back to the business side, when I started my business, I had no clue about a business. What? So I really want to go out and help people, and I really want to do all this preventative stuff. And I started with puppies. But, oh God, I've actually got to do all these other things. I've got to keep my accounts. I've got to, you know, I've got to be admin. I've got to like make sales. I've got to do all these things or bookings myself. And it's kind of like that gets pushed to the wayside, and all your focus is these people, these dogs. I need to help them. I need to help them. And actually your business kind of, it almost like trails along behind it.
Yeah.
And if I'd have looked at it like I look at it now, I could have had, I mean, I don't regret where I came from and where I am, because I don't think I'd be where I am now if I hadn't done that. But at the same time, like, it would have been really nice to have that guidance and go, just because, like, we've had a message off somebody this afternoon just saying there isn't enough dog-focused business advice out there. Yeah. But that's great, but that's what we're aiming to do. But at the same time, like, general business advice is still applicable to the dog industry. Yeah. So we don't always have to kind of compartmentalise it. But, you know, we're here because we feel like a lot of people feel that way. Yeah. And they can't look outside of the industry to get help. So I guess to have we've been there, we've done that, we've got the T-shirt, and we now want to teach you this way because we feel like our lives are just so more enriched. Yes. As well as all the dogs' lives we've enriched as well. But it's that, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's that whole, just bringing it back, that love of dogs on that pole is so overwhelmingly high that I know for a fact that nobody is looking, like you've just said, elsewhere to get any support. And the business does kind of just trail along behind you. And it's almost like, well, where the hell do you start then? So do you start off being a sole trader? Do you just trade and not bank anything? Like how do you even take payments? One bugbear of mine. Every business and tradespeople really annoy me with this. Why is it not possible for everybody to just pay by card? We're in a world now where credit cards are a must. So you could potentially be turning work down by only making a bank transfer available to people. Pay the bloody fees on a system. It's not that much in the grand scheme of things.
Which you can pass on to your clients.
Yes.
It doesn't have to
pass
be you
it on
that takes the
and
hit.
make it easy for the person to buy off of you.
And also safe, you know, if you're with a provider that uses, you know, it's got safe ways of paying for things, people are going to go, oh, they must be legit because they've got, you know, PayPal, or they've got Stripe, or they've got GoCard, or whatever it is that you use. And so it also gives that peace of mind and professionalism as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, professionalism is...
well, again, coming back on, we're going to keep mentioning the Joe Rosie conversation because we it's quite a recent thing that we've just done. But it's that how archaic are the processes for dog professionals still. It is still stuck in the 1970s and 80s, isn't it? With the things that how a lot of people do things is that bank transfer, fill in a booking form that they physically have to type in and then send as an attachment, or something, or even a physical form that they have to post out to somebody. That is still what happens sometimes. So you go, well, just make everybody's life easier. It just,
Yeah. I do genuinely think if you used to get, certainly in the UK, even if you've got like 100 to 500 dog trainers, they'd all be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You may get a handful that are maybe slightly out of it.
With it.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, surely. And we're all saying the same things. And I was even saying to a client yesterday about I needed him to change his behaviour to get a different outcome, because he's been arguing with me for about 6 months now. In a nice way, like we've got a good relationship, it's a good bit of banter. And he was like, but why can't I just do this stuff? And I was like, Dave, is the stuff that you've been doing, is it working? And he's like, well, no. I was like, so you need to put a different formula in that spreadsheet then, don't you? You've got to change it. So we can keep moaning about how, and I know moaning sounds a bit like a negative term, but it's essentially what we're all doing. It's essentially what's happening when we're going onto Facebook and we're typing all these things like, how does everybody cope with clients that don't listen or do the things that we're asking them to do? I've fallen out of love with my business. I've fallen out of love with dog training. I've fallen out of love with walking. I'm feeling tired. I'm burnt. It's the same thing all the
Going
time.
around in circles, isn't it?
So if that's been happening for the last 10, 15 years and nothing's changing, why are we all doing it?
Yeah.
Why are we all doing the same thing?
And it's also coming back to that poll and the option that someone added of getting out of the daily grind of corporate. I think we have that nice romantic notion of, we're in corporate, everything's stressful, a lot of responsibilities, and maybe they work in the city and it's just like very intense. Oh, we'll start a dog business. Yay, that sounds amazing. You get to work with dogs and that freedom you get. Oh, we have to actually run a business. Like that's the aside thing. We're not first thinking, let's start a business. What can we start it in? Dogs. I love dogs. It's the other way around how people do it, isn't it? And go, look, I love dogs. I love dogs. Yeah. Oh, yes, I have to do all those other things now. How do I do them? I've no idea really, but I'll just bumble along and make the best out of it I can. And then it comes back to that, what you just said, all in a big circle. Oh, we hate it because it's too this, it's too that. It's not enough of this, not enough of that. Well, because you didn't strategize it. You didn't think about what you actually wanted before you started the business. Ultimately,
Every single one of you now who is listening, you have a business that you either love or you could potentially love again, because you're in it for a reason. You started it for a reason, whether you see yourself as a business owner or not, or whether you see yourself as an accidental business owner, which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
If you seek out the right support and you surround yourself with people that are going to guide you to help you get to where you want to go, you will have a business that you love.
And why
regardless as to what
bother
that is.
trying and it not working? Why not try and you know it's going to succeed because you've got a good plan in place?
Yeah. And I know we're going to come back to this on pretty much everything we are ever going to do, because it's something that we are beyond passionate about. But circling back to putting that same formula in that Excel spreadsheet and it giving you the same answer and the same behaviour keeps getting the same response, something's got to change somewhere. So ask yourself, how long have you felt frustrated in your business? And I think frustrated is a good word, because it doesn't mean that you don't like it, love it, whatever it is. It could be, like we say, clients are pissing you off. You're pissing yourself off because you're not earning enough money, like a full-time wage. You're working all these hours and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere.
Or the
emotional burnout, whatever it is.
Yeah, and the minute you take your foot off the gas of coming out of your business to work on it, you feel guilty for not being in it, and you're turning people away that you could have taken on. And it's that mental battle. Isn't it?
All of that. I think the thing that is the biggest bugbear for me when you are in a situation like that, with any one of those examples, and there's a million more, guarantee it, if a new shiny course came up for you to do, you'd do it.
Absolutely.
So why not reinvest that money? And let's face it, these CPD courses are not, they're priced adequately from a business point of view. So you're looking at 500 upwards, really, for a course. You may get these odd ones at like 50 quid and 90 quid and what have you. Conferences, I'd say the minimum spend now is about, unless they're online, but again, anywhere between 50 and 200 quid. So how many CPD knowledge stuff are you doing throughout the year? Which is, I'm not knocking CPD, because I enjoy doing it too. But add up all of those, and if you did 1 year of focusing on your business, where could that lead you? And where could you be versus where you are now? Or keep doing what you're doing, gain some more knowledge. Let's face it, not do anything with that knowledge because you're burnt out, you're tired, you're still not attracting the right clients, you're still not getting enough clients.
And actually, let's ask that question. How many people do CPD they do nothing with?
Yeah.
I've done it.
I'm guilty of it. I've got loads of courses on that I haven't done.
Yeah, same.
And I love CPD. I genuinely love it. I love learning.
Yeah, I do.
But you've got to apply, and I think there is genuinely only so much knowledge you can keep taking on to be able to effectively impart. Because again, let's face it, if you're doing it for the love of dogs, what exactly are you wanting to do? If you're doing all this CPD because you enjoy doing it, or it's from a place of fear that you don't know enough, well, look at the CPD that you have already got. And again, we're in a day and age now where a lot of this is online courses, so you've got lifetime access to it. Go back over that, work on your business, but to deliver that piece of CPD.
And also, a lot of the CPD crosses over.
Yeah,
doesn't it? Okay, it might not be named the same.
Yeah.
And it might come from a slightly different angle, but it's going to be the same techniques. It's going to be the same kind of mechanics involved.
Yeah.
So you kind of go, do we really need to do this again? Maybe you want to hear it from that particular trainer or that particular person.
And that's it, isn't it? It's that buy-in to that particular person. So start thinking about it then. The way you feel about wanting to buy into that person to do their course is how your clients need to be perceiving you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly, like, I want to work with you. Why do I want to work with you? Not because you've done all these CPD. I don't really give a shit. Yeah. Why do I want to work with that Spanish teacher? I don't care what she's done. But if she's got I say she, very, very sexist of me, isn't it? If they have got a website that appeals to me and it looks like something that I'm interested in and I think the kids may enjoy, then I'm more inclined to go and inquire and find out a bit more.
And it will result in whether that person is the right person for you and your children as to whether you go with them. Because again, let's face it, people buy from people.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how many things you offer, if you're not the right person for somebody, they're not going to go with you.
Yep. Yeah, exactly that. So I think that the things that are most important for people to be actioning right now is think about perhaps why you got into it. But I don't think that's the biggest thing. Like, that's more of a musing rather than spending a lot of time focusing on it. Focus on where you want to be with it. I don't think enough of us focus on the future. It's very much about month by month. What do I need to do now to get some money in? Maybe you're not even thinking about it like that. Maybe you're literally just stuck in doing, but you have to start planning. And it's the non-sexy stuff, but actually, if you do it, I quite enjoy it. I love looking at it and going, oh, how much are we aiming to make? How are we going to do it? How can we help people do that? What's the best product and service to be able to deliver that? All from how I love it, which is what, like I say, I've ended up landing on I want to educate people on dog psychology, and that's how I've modelled the business.
And for those who are looking to get into the industry, always have that core value of I love dogs or I do it for the love of dogs, but think about the bigger picture. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Good convo.
Yeah, indeed.
So we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to find out more about us, follow and subscribe.